that's going to have survived are all these golden YouTube buttons all over the place, and future generations will think we worship them.
Basically. Hello! Awesome, we got some guests. So, let's us start the stream. First of all, welcome everybody to the Kat Café. Oh jeez. Wait.
Welcome.
I forgot my stuff. This is so professional.
Unwelcome. Everyone leave.
Yeah, everyone leave. Hold up. Wait. Well, anyway. Hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is a weekly Twitch podcast about subjects that make people feel good and make you scratch your head, or wherever you scratch. And today's topic is actually the left brain versus the right brain. This is a bit of a weird subject to talk about, but I think that definitely requires some discussion, because not a lot of people talk about it nowadays, and it actually has a lot more to it than people think. Also, please excuse me, I am very sick. I know I sound like I just stuffed two chewed up gums in my nose. I didn't. I'm just very sick. I'm getting better. But today's speakers are Squeebers and Bama Barif, who previously was Lin Kuei Monster Hunter. And this is actually a very special episode, because this is the first episode in the actual server. Oh, that's messed up.
Woo!
Oh, jeez, hold up.
And instantly that's it. Everyone leave.
Instantly it's broken. Oh no. Crap. No,
Subscribe, get out.
Oh man. This is...
Don't forget to tune in next week to Squeeber's Politicast.
Oh my god. I checked this. I literally checked this. I checked this literally 10 seconds. No, I checked this 10 seconds before the actual stream. Why is it messed up? OBS is just such a wonderful program. Actually, no, it actually is a wonderful program. If it weren't for OBS, we wouldn't even have to stream. And there we go. Why is that even a thing? My god. Why is that like that? Why can't OBS just work? So glitchy. There we go. Okay. Now we got it.
Damn this free software and all that of its failings.
I mean, okay. It is glitchy. It's very glitchy. But if it weren't for OBS, this would not even be a thing. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Kat Cafe in the actual Cat Box server. We actually have a Discord server now, and from now on, the podcast will be recorded on the server
Until it breaks.
Until it breaks. Yes, exactly. Basically. All right. Well, left brain versus right brain. Let's start off with the first question. First of all, what are you, and why do you think you're like that? Me personally,
Ooh.
I can't say I can self-diagnose myself, but me and my friends.
Don't worry, I can self-diagnose yourself. You're right brain.
Yes, I've been told.
You're extremely creative.
Thank you, honestly. Thank you both of you. What about you guys?
Okay. Now, this doesn't have any bearing on my political standing, but I'm left-brained.
What? What? Okay.
Logical. I'm logical.
All the time.
Logical. Gotcha. Good to hear.
I like to alternate between left and right.
I mean, usually you would.
Flips
They're
them on
different
and
things.
He flips
I'm
them on.
right-handed, but my left eye is what I really see out of. It's like, you know, that thing where
You
you
only,
like close one eye
see out
and
your left
nothing
eye.
changes.
The other one's made out of wood.
You like close one eye, and then it looks like something moves, but then you look at it through the other eye, and then nothing changes. It's
Yeah.
like
What?
that kind of thing.
What?
So you're like half T-Rex.
Kind of. It's weird.
Holy crap! I hope that horn didn't come through. Apparently, someone's horning outside. Moving on.
Someone's horny
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that?
I'm mostly left brain.
Mostly left brain. Okay.
What kind of
gotcha.
neighborhood do you live in again?
I don't even know at this point.
Oh my.
Yeah.
It's the red light district.
Basically.
Oh no.
So what about you, Skewers?
Absolutely left brain. Not a single drop of your human emotion in here.
You are the Terminator.
I am the Terminator.
Get to the chopper! Okay, cringy references aside. Why do you think, why do you self-diagnose yourself as left-brained?
Just very logical. I will not deny it. I try to look at things logically.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Though I have been told I'm
The
very
left
passionate about
brain
something.
also is more detail focus isn't the right word, but it reduces things to arithmetic. Like one of the literal definitions of the value systems that the left and right hemispheres have in the brain. The left hemisphere reduces moral questions to arithmetic, whereas the right sees a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So the right's more grand, more creative. Clinically, depression is more linked with a hyperactive right hemisphere. So the right's more on the side of emotions, more
Yeah.
on exploring that sort of thing. Left is more, I'm going to focus everything down to its base parts, binary ones and zeros, and then deal with it that way.
Okay. So the left brain is a bit more logic only, morals aside, just what will work best and how can I make this work, period. Whereas the right brain
Yes.
is more like the left brain makes a base and the right brain is like, okay, that's cool and it works, but what if it works this way too? Or what if you did this way and it will make it more fun or more interesting or more visually attractive or auditorily attractive, I guess.
The left brain's the Borg, the right brain's the humans.
The Borg. The Borg.
Borg.
Borg. Alright.
I
How
use
about
the
this?
Borg.
Yes. And what about? Do you know a lot of people that are also left-brained in your cases?
Easy, my dad.
Hmm.
Do you know a lot of left-brained people, or do you mostly know right-brained people?
I mostly know right brain people. That's no question. The only people who are left, it's like weird. My mom's side of the family is right brained. There's no question about it.
How so?
People on my dad's side of the family is like they're all left brain. It's so weird.
Oh,
Extreme split.
extreme. I wonder. I wonder what.
Because like
what make them click?
my dad's
though?
dad, he was a principal.
Oh.
So there's no way that he's not left brain, right?
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I would say so.
And then
I
my
mean-
dad actually does coding.
Well, I mean, to
You
be fair.
gotta-
Okay.
Look at every detail of coding.
No, but to be fair, I have done coding as well. I've never made anything, but I practice coding. There is some right brainness involved in coding. If you want, like, yes, coding is very boring sometimes if you're like learning it. But once you know what you're gonna make, you can be extremely creative with coding. I will say that.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, things I've seen as well is that in code, especially when whether it's just basic scripting or really grand codes for like games and animations and things like that,
Yeah.
there's a degree of artistry for sure that comes through in coding. You can have someone who's extremely logical, ones and zeros, bleep bloop, doing coding, and everything will be very crisp, everything will be very mechanical, everything will be very just pleasingly symmetrical. And then you've got the more creative coders doing crazy alter things with just code flying everywhere, probably useless bits of code in there. I mean,
I
that's
think-
where you end up getting a lot of the really cool stuff, though.
I think the thing is, it's more prevalent in games, and that's why we associate it with games. Because like when you look at games, you don't look at you don't see ones and zeros. You see this character moving from left to right, or saving the princess from a monster. You don't see all the code behind it making it all work, and that's why when we think of coding, we usually think of gaming, because that's what we kind of see it associated with most, and that's why the creative side kind of comes out more. Whereas normal machinery, lots of people don't really interact with it, so they don't really think of coding in that aspect, I guess. They don't think of the doctors using coding. I would say, I don't know.
That's actually a good question as well. Is would you rather have a physician or surgeon working on you who's left-brained or right-brained?
Oh god. Please. I would say left brain skill, but right brain morality, so that they don't kill me. They're like, well, this patient doesn't really do anything. Let's just kill him off and save
We
society.
are the Borg.
Oh god. They just decide that I'm useless in society, and they say, there was nothing we could do. That's how they slowly dwindle the population. I mean,
It is interesting to think about the as far as like doctors and such go, the different professions that seem to be prevalent in different sides of thinking.
yeah.
Uh, Historically, left brainers, for example, there's a surprising amount of leaders that were left brain. People like, and I don't know this for certain, but through my extensive degree as a, Google doctor, past American presidents, several of them have been predominantly left brain. James Garfield, Hoover, Truman, Reagan,
Oh,
even Bush and Clinton, and allegedly Obama, but I'm
wait,
not so sure.
wasn't
He seemed a bit more creative.
wait was it Reagan? No, oh, am I thinking about? I think it was Jefferson, right? There was a president that used to paint. I know there was one.
Oh, that'd be very cool.
No, I mean, I may be historically wrong. I'm probably thinking of someone else. But I think I remember there was a president that painted. Don't quote me on this, but I think it was Thomas Jefferson. Wait, was he a president? Oh God, probably sounds so stupid right now.
We don't come here purporting to know anything factual.
Exactly. Don't take anything we say as logic. I mean,
And interestingly, other. Mhm.
No, I'm just saying that most of the stuff here, if not everything, is Googled. That's as
How
accurate as we get.
how very dare you?
You've been
I know
exposed.
plenty of things about things.
I, I know that left is left and right is right. I'm so smart. I know 2 plus 2 equals fish. I'm so smart. IQ 9000.
You're smart.
I'm smart.
But there have been a lot of other great leaders who are suspected to have been left brain, like Joan of Arc, Julius Caesar, Queen Victoria, even.
Julius Caesar
Some people
was
say
left-brained?
Helen Keller as well, from what I've read, but I don't know how they would have possibly told that.
Oh, really?
But then, as far as right brain people go, it's a lot of. Now we think back of them as like very logical and very scientific, but what they were doing at their time was extremely creative, far beyond just basic science. Like Sir Isaac Newton,
Yeah.
Aristotle, Einstein, Da Vinci, well, obviously Da Vinci,
But the thing is,
Edison.
what's weird though is that we see them now as like some of the best and biggest minds in terms of art and science. But back in their day, they were pretty hated and no one knew about them. And
Oh yeah,
like
especially Newton. He was
Yeah.
insane. He
the
was a
few
crazy
people
person.
that knew about them hated them. Like they despised them. They thought they were a waste of oxygen. And nowadays we look back on them and we're like, wow, these were some of the greatest people on earth. It's amazing how the coin flips over time.
Yeah, that's true, and I think it's also just of the age. These days, there are some famous right-brain people still around. Like Bill Gates is supposedly right-brained. Spielberg supposedly
Gates?
right-brained. Yeah, right.
Bill Gates.
And
I mean, okay, Steven Spielberg, obviously, duh. But Bill Gates, really? I would not have thought
Yeah.
Bill Gates have. I mean, okay, to be fair, I guess I would have imagined it, but he's such a, like, he's worth so much. He's worth way more.
there's no way a right-brainer could have made money.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying is that to get there, you have to manage and micromanage so much that even if you were right-brained, I would think at a point you just turned left-brain out of need, out of necessity, because there's just so much stuff to manage and micromanage. Me as a
I
right-brainer.
think perhaps the most interesting person that I've seen on any of the lists of right and left brain influential people was Einstein. Is supposedly a right-brainer.
Really?
Don't you dare fact check me. This is just what the internet says.
So, if you
Okay.
ask me, I think the best kind of person to be a scientific mind or a leader or that kind of thing would be someone who has the perfect balance of right and left brain capability.
And who do you think that would be?
I have no idea.
I
I'm
think
just
we all
saying.
know who he's talking about.
I'm talking about a hypothetical person. I
ask
don't know
for
if this person exists.
How dare you? I'm right here.
Um,
Well then,
How
this is
how
dangerous.
dare you?
you have a dog for a face. Ready for your riddle?
I'm a dog.
Jeez, it's like those internet memes. Like someone super smart says something incredibly intelligent. They're like, anime profile picture. Opinion doesn't matter. That's why I drew mine.
I will say though, it seems people do like black and white. People like ones and zeros. It's just, people don't like gray area. It's too confusing.
I guess it's
But
not. I don't think it's
very
confusing. I
difficult.
think it's just. I think more than confusing, it's unpredictable. Because like, this is probably like counteracting your argument or possibly proving your point. But
How dare you?
there's so even in reality, even in actual paint, there's so many different types of grays that you never know exactly which one you're gonna get. Like yes, there is a gray area, but which one out of the millions is which gray area are we talking about here? That's what I mean. Does that make sense?
Well, I think it's just a natural tendency to try to categorize everything. Everyone wants everything quantified. So
Ironically,
it's very
in the
tempting to
Discord.
say, yeah, but it's very tempting to say this person is a left brainer or that person is a right brainer. But obviously, no one is just one or the other, unless you had some horrible accident or birth defect.
Point.
And that means everyone has qualities from either side. Maybe one side is slightly more biased than the other. There's I forget the word for it. It's like a lateral segmentation or something of the hemispheres where if you could imagine a brain with the line going down the middle of the crease,
Yeah.
imagine if there was an invisible line that shifts more to the left or more to the right. And
Okay.
that's sort of the idea where there are different regions of the brain that for whatever reason just become controlled more powerfully or differently than say someone else's brain. So that person's brain might be particularly inclined to really pump the proteins and pump the energy into logic and arithmetic and numbers and little fine details.
And
But
actually,
then another person who's got the same brain, their line is slightly to the left of where that other person's line is, and they don't have all of those proteins and things being pumped to the same place.
yeah. So they just turn out.
So
a bit-
everyone's got both.
No, I was just saying that, like, even if that is true, but I'll let you finish though. Even if that is true, there have been a rare case, like, the brain is so complex that even the brain can't be, like, you can't just say, like, the complete right side of the brain is just creativity and that nothing else. Because it still has parts going in between, left and right. Because, I mean, it's just one brain. It's not like two parts of one brain built like a Lego.
Mm-hmm.
But, sorry, you were finishing? I'm sorry.
No, I was just rambling on, basically. But
No,
it is the idea that every person has both characteristics. So even if you're like me and you fight to the death for the right to be entirely left brain, the right still exists in there. So there are still tendencies towards creativity and less rational thought, things like that. Same
Okay.
for someone who's artistic will occasionally just completely give in to a more logical, literal thought process.
I mean, I guess somehow we kind of.
It's why you can't just look at Einstein and say, oh, he's a scientist, he must have been left-brained, or oh, this essay says that he was right-brained, so he must have been just right-brained. He was clearly both.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You have to be creative to come up with those sorts of formulas and to see the world that way, but you also have to be very based in logic and rational thought to be able to see the world that way.
Because you gotta think out. I guess. I kind of see it this way. Like, life is a box, and I guess the left brainers just find out what works in the box, and the right brainers just find out what works outside the box.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Is that wait? That was that, wasn't it?
That was Forrest Gump.
Oh.
Jenny.
Oh my god. I haven't seen the movie in so long. I'm sorry. Actually, that is a good point too. Like, not to get too controversial, but what about people who are, well, mentally challenged? Would you, like, how will we diagnose them as right or left brained? Because they're mentally challenged. We
Don't.
can't. Yeah, but like, it's
Well, I
hard
think
to.
you can then look at someone who's got like savant syndrome, the degree of autism, or
Yeah.
Asperger's, another degree of autism.
But
They're
even-
on the
even
same spectrum, but very dramatically different in how that person processes information, what their brain does with it.
Yeah, but even like people with autism have become billionaires and people who are really really well known or have done really great things. Like, even with those conditions, they've been able to do way more than even normal people have been able to do. So, what would how do you think we would categorize them?
I think they could still be thought of in the same way. They still have a brain in there. It's just one thing or another has caused different parts of it to either be way more active or way less active than other people's brains.
Yeah, I guess
So you could look at someone with savant syndrome who is cripplingly autistic, but is able to create an entire concerto just from hearing a ringtone, or
Yeah.
is able to repaint the Mona Lisa from memory just by having glimpsed it on the side of a bus once. But
That's
then you
not-
also have savants who are able to see massively complex numbers just in their heads. They can tell you the prime of any number. They can tell you what this times this divided by that is to any decimal point you want.
That's not challenged. That's advanced.
Yeah, but I mean, that's savant syndrome. It's someone who's got significant mental disability, but has certain abilities that are far in excess of any demonstrable average.
Yeah, definitely.
So they might be completely incapable of sometimes even eating on their own, but often they have no social awareness whatsoever, don't want to be touched, some can't stand light,
Yeah.
but then they're able to do those insane things.
I think a big example of that, I'm not sure if you've seen the show. I have not finished it. I only saw the first episode, but I loved it. It's a really freaking good show called The Good Doctor. It's
I
on Hulu.
love The Good Doctor.
Oh, you've seen it? Yeah. That's an
Yes.
amazing example of that. That
Made
is-
by the same people that did House, which explains a lot when you think about it.
I never saw House, so I don't know. I was like 5 when
How
House came
bare
out.
Get Out.
I was
That's
like,
it. Cat Cafe is
I'm-
closed.
I am the same as Nico saw me here.
I mean, I was
You
like
Get
5
Out
when
too.
it came out.
You're both fired. We're turning this into the
I
Squeebers
don't-
Politicast.
Oh my god,
I
no.
honestly don't know what House even is.
It's a show, I think it was on ABC. It was the same network.
Makes sense why I haven't seen it then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have cable anymore. I
I
usually
don't watch
watch.
I don't watch TV no more.
I used to watch The Good Doctor on Hulu. I mean, I have Netflix, but my mom had Hulu, so like, me, it was cool. But The Good Doctor was a really freaking good show. It was so
YouTube will be the
meticu-
new cable.
No, yeah, it was so meticulously designed to like fall under what autistic people would actually do, but it shows you that sometimes autistic people are one of the best examples of human focus and evolution we have. Sometimes the brain just
In The
chooses to
Good
focus.
Doctor. Go on.
No, it's saying that sometimes the human brain just focuses on other more important stuff.
Yeah, especially if it's got deficiencies in other areas that it knows it can't overcome. In The Good Doctor, the doctor, oh gosh, what's his name? I've been quoting it for weeks. I can't
Doctor.
remember his
Wait, what?
name.
Said Doctor, that's
what I said. He's got a degree of savant syndrome.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
he doesn't
Yeah.
want to be touched. He can't deal with social situations, can't deal with noise and excitement.
I do
But
wonder though.
he's able to just memorize anything biological.
Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the show. I only saw the first episode, so spoilers for the first episode.
Everyone dies.
No, my question is, how does I really am freaking curious as to what someone with his mind, how his mind processes the deaths he's witnessed firsthand. I mean, he saw. God, I'm gonna spoil it for anyone who
You can
hasn't
spoil the first episode. If someone didn't make it through that, then too bad.
Yeah, but like his rabbit and his brother die.
Oh
like,
god, that was terrible, and they kept showing the rabbit.
yeah, I mean, I just I want to know what his mind went through, because like I know what a normal mind goes through. I've sadly dealt with death myself, but I mean, what does his brain look like when it sees that something he loved and cared for just died in front of him? Like,
It actually goes into a bit of detail about that, and I think that actor did an excellent job
Oh
in
my
that
God.
role.
That
It
actor.
doesn't feel like he's hamming it up. He really gets the like nervous anxiety, the
I think he actually
disinterested,
was
sort of
anxious.
dissociative way he thinks.
I think he actually was anxious, just saying. Because like sometimes actors
What,
do.
the actor?
No, I think sometimes there are occasions of actors actually channeling something in their past that cause them to have that same feeling. I'm not sure.
I
if
feel
you
like the director probably just told him, "Hey, you're going to be playing an autistic guy. Don't screw it up."
No, but like that was holy crap. I remember that show, that episode you're talking about. That was so meticulously well done. It was just amazing.
But you can really see later on, and I think the first show kind of shows it, where it shows him saving the boy in the airport, I think it was.
Yeah, that was the first episode. Oh god,
Yeah,
no.
it kind of shows the way his mind works. But later on in other surgeries, when he finally does get into an operating room, it'll show scenes where, say, something bad is happening, and everyone's freaking out. They don't know what's going on. They can't find it. But then he kind of has a house moment and goes into his little brain and thinks, okay, well, what would happen to cause this? What would happen to cause that? Well, if I trace it all the way back, there's a blood clot in his leg.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how'd you figure that one out? We're operating on his chest. Well, it would cause this. It would spasm that, and that's where all these symptoms come from. He's able to take everything that's going on and somehow tie it all together,
Yeah,
and he does it really well.
And super fast too. I mean, I do kind of question how, like, if that actually did happen to a kid and he did actually do that, where he like cut his neck open, put the tube in, the 2 bottles of alcohol, kind of make a one-way thing. I do question like how real that kind of thing is, but overall, it's that I would not be surprised if this show was like 5-7 years in development, because it's so meticulously done where everything makes sense. But
Well, yeah, sure, the guy that created House, he's very good at what he does. House was an excellent show all the way through. Like,
Yeah.
really explored things you wouldn't expect to have been explored, really gave you the feeling that these people spent a lot of time learning about their roles, learning about how medicine and hospitals work.
yeah,
And you get that with this show as well, where we're not just following around a doctor, we're watching like the legal team and how the legal team has to deal with everything
That
the
is
autistic doctor
interesting, too.
does. We're watching the financial team having to deal with everything the autistic doctor does.
that is true. It's interesting about that show too, how they cover everything. Like, you're not questioning, oh, what's going on over here, what's going on over there. They show you everything. Like,
Yeah, they do. Boy, oh boy, do they.
did you just did you just vape?
Don't worry about what I'm doing.
Oh my god.
If you think the bunny scene in the first episode was something to remember, wait until some of the later ones when they're removing tumors. And by the way, it is always a tumor.
Versus totally vaping right
We have a
now.
running joke around here whenever we watch that show. If they ever say the G word, we call it. If they say good, or it's going good, or this has gone really well, or anything along
Humor.
those lines, we always instantly go, she's about to die. That was a shame. I liked her. And anytime there's a mystery disease that's plaguing someone, it's a tumor.
Yeah. Anyway, we talked about like 10-15 minutes about the show instead of the actual.
Yeah. Love that show.
Yeah, it is
Such a good show.
It is a really good show, I will admit. It really does deserve all the praise it gets. It's very well done.
Does get a little campy at times, though. Like, there's
Welcome back to the
some
Friday
just,
Hospital Podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still, it's
Today
Next
we're
interesting.
talking
week we'll
about a
talk
hospital
about
show
Grey's
called
Anatomy.
House.
No, we're talking about the Good Doctor, but okay. Anyway,
Whatever. I lost track. I zoned out just because I'm like, okay, I can't talk. I don't know nothing about either of these shows.
so
I can't believe you've never seen The Good Doctor. Hugh Laurie is a national treasure that we have
I'm not much of a
successfully
reality.
stolen.
I'm not much of a
From England.
TV show person.
yeah, but even though someone.
I'm cartoons and yeah, I just don't like
Yeah.
TV no more.
Ironically, I think my
I don't
dad-
like TV.
I don't do words good.
Yeah, ironically, I think my dad,
I'm just the
being who he is, what he does is very right-brained, but he acts and does stuff in a very left-brained manner. I don't know why. It's just talking about that, like right-brained people in the left-brained job. Let's talk about left-brained people in the right-brained job. Like, my dad, he does photography, and I just don't know. I don't know. The way when you look at his pictures, they're very meticulous, very logical, very carbon copy of references. They're like he has some added sing to it, I guess, but it just all feels very left-brained.
In what ways?
Everything kind of always looks gray, I guess. That's maybe more of a creative choice, which is more right-brained, I understand that. But just, everything feels logical and, like, this is supposed to do this, and this is supposed to do that. And, oh, this is the best thing, this guy said this is the best thing, so it's the best thing, nothing else. Like, I guess it's more closed in. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah.
So
Anyway.
he's
Yeah.
a creative left brainer or a logical right brainer.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. It's pretty interesting, but I think it's just an interesting case of the gray area we're talking about.
Yeah, where no one can be wholly identified by one side or the other.
Yeah, but he's like really in the middle. Yeah. So, what is your like? Okay. What is your definition like if someone were to ask you, what do you define as right or left brained? I think Squeebers did go a bit into detail about this with the left brain, but Bama Barif, what do you define as right or left brained?
honestly don't know.
I think he's going to sleep.
Yeah, I think you're pretty sleepy. It's
No,
okay.
I haven't been sleeping good. I've been needing to take melatonin.
Oh, okay. Hopefully you get better.
Water melatonin.
So, okay.
It's my
I've always
favorite
been
flavor
a
of bubblegum.
I've always been a slight insomniac.
Yeah, I think we all are. To the extreme.
This is why I think I'm gonna have to get like get the graveyard shift at a job and then just sleep for the rest of the day.
Graveyard shift. Jeez. I know what that is, but it's
Work
just
at
weird.
night, because that's when I'm up.
Night, 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 night,
Night,
night,
night,
night,
night.
Okay, so this is a bit of a personal question for you guys, but what do you? I mean, normally, me being a right brainer, I really am interested. What do you guys usually? What is your usual day as a left brainer? What does it look like in your space? How does everything work? Is everything logical? Is there just the very basics in your space? Do you usually just do the basic stuff you're supposed to do, or like what's your usual day?
I think people, well, while you can have natural born proclivities for one side or the other, one school of thought or the other, I think it does largely depend on choice. Because I think as you grow, just the way you learn to interact with things, the way you were brought up, the people you were around, the things you experience, change how you respond to different stimuli. And if you find when you're younger that responding to them more logically, more thoughtfully, more detached is easier or better or gives better results, then as you get older, you're going to gravitate more towards the logical, the thoughtful, the thought out, and away from the lesser explored, more unknown creativity and uh, spontaneity, things like that, of the other side.
So you,
Because hmm?
that kind of falls into the nature versus nurture kind of argument. With actually, we've used that argument a fair number of times. I think we're gonna have to make it a subject for a podcast because we've talked about
It
it.
is the subject of every podcast.
Yeah, it really does kind of like everything we talk about does fall in the nature versus nurture kind of thing. I think for next episode, if not that, the other one, because it's a very broad topic. I gotta say, a lot of
There
stuff
was
falls into
a
it.
there was an article written by Carl Zimmer. He's a science writer, so he's not quite a scientist, but he knows about them. And he wrote in, I have it here somewhere on Discover magazine.
Oh.
And I think this is a good explanation of how the hemispheres of the brain work.
Uh-huh.
That the left hemisphere specializes in picking out sounds that form the words and working out the syntax of the phrase, for example.
Okay.
But it doesn't have a monopoly on language processing as a whole, because the right hemisphere is more sensitive to the emotional features of language,
Okay.
turning or tuning into like slow rhythms of speech and stresses and things like that.
Yeah. I guess
So you
that's
have
why,
to have both to understand language.
yeah, that's kind of why. That's why I think that's why the English language has like the literal. The word sounds the same, but you say it differently with a different pitch or something, and it means something completely different. That is exemplified in the English language. Yeah, you definitely see it.
And that's something that the right hemisphere deals with, is learning the intonations and the stresses and pitches. And then the left is the one that puts the words together and makes them into a thing you can recognize.
So, I guess in a way, the right brain, as creative as it is, does kind of have survival needs involved.
Oh, everything about humans is about survival.
Yeah, but what about the right brain though?
I do wonder, though, that's a good point. Would the right brain have been necessarily as developed in early proto-humans before there was any real thoughtful language or existentialism going on?
Yeah, because I mean,
Or would it have been more developed to pay attention to really subtle cues, like the ways different animals sound, the ways different climates and weather patterns work around them?
I would think so, because I mean, it kind of makes sense. Because like if you listen to a elephant like miles away versus one right next to you, you're gonna know. Oh, I'm in danger because it's right near me. Like if a mammoth stomped up to you and you heard the mammoth footsteps, I would think that you would sense how far away it is. Maybe that's just me.
And I imagine the left brain would register, those are footsteps. They're very large. What's large around here? A mammoth. I should get out of the way. Whereas the right brain will be thinking, I could turn that into a coat and some boots and a wallet, and I bet you there's meat in there, and I'm making a new team.
Gonna kill that critter.
Oh god.
Gonna kill me that critter.
Get that critter.
Okay. Alright.
But that's what I assume the two hemispheres would have been used for in a proto-human day.
Actually, that makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking. That's actually really accurate to how I think it would have been used. What I was thinking is...
Because it works along with the idea that Zimmer says in his article that the left picks out the syntax and the words themselves, the right finds the emphasis and the stresses.
Okay, yeah.
So it gives reason to the words.
What I was thinking though was like, I think the right brain wasn't as developed because like we don't see. I mean, to be fair, cave paintings are very old, but we don't see them till like way after they found out what ink was, and they're like, oh wait, what's this? And then they use them to like try to draw characters and little animals and kind of tell the story of early humans and how they hunted for food, like cave drawings.
I would love to have been there when they were making those cave drawings, because today we look back at them and we go, ooh, ancient, so advanced. At the time, they were probably just like letting their toddlers doodle on the wall with bits of dried up mammoth doo-doo. And they're just like, oh look, he drew a little mammoth next to a little person. Isn't that sweet? Okay, we'll leave that up there on our like ancient antique idea of a refrigerator for you.
Actually,
We
that
need to
is.
get. We need. I can wait for the ice age. Then we can get icebergs. Then we can have a refrigerator.
That's
It's coming.
And
Soon
thus the
everything's gonna be
refrigerators were
refrigerated.
born unto this earth.
No. The refrigerator is just a huge chunk of ice that slowly melts during the other seasons, and then you just get another one on the winter. Like, let's hunt for a refrigerator.
I'm picturing some early proto-human walking up to a massive glacier with a little piece of bark with some doo-doo drawings on it that their toddler made for them, and just like sticking it against the glacier. There we go. We're putting that on the fridge.
Yeah. There we go. Just chunks of ice fall off. The whole thing cracks. The whole thing cracks like the Ice Age movies. Like little squirrel, just everything cracks up and it just all crumbles. Actually,
Honey, we gotta find a new refrigerator.
why? Timmy broke our refrigerator. He cracked it all.
He put a picture on it.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
So he's basically Scrat from Ice Age, is what you're saying.
basically. Oh god, instant
Takes
messaging would be painful.
destruction wherever he goes.
Instant messaging will be painful. Hey, here's a message. Phew!
I
Ow.
like the idea though that individual families had entire glaciers that they used as their fridges.
That would
Like,
be
hey, I'm
cool.
going over to the neighbor's house to get some frozen meats from them since we're about out. You need anything? I'll be gone for about 12 months while I walk around the entire Arctic.
Actually,
Yeah, it's just the next glacier over.
that's actually something I also want to touch. What do you think? Which side of the brain do you
Can't touch a
think?
glacier, they're endangered.
What side of the brain do you think developed society as a whole? Because like, we didn't just stay cavemen. We developed and advanced and grew. Like, what part or how much of each side do you think was involved in advancing and evolving society?
I think they necessarily had to have been equal parts left and right. There
Is-
was a study done at the University of Utah. I don't know when, I don't have it written down here.
Okay.
But it was some odd thousand students that participated in brain analysis. And the study ended up revealing after they were given different tasks, shown different things, that activity was sometimes higher in certain critical regions, left or right.
Yeah.
Both sides were basically equal on average. So
Oh.
certain things stressed one side or the other, but when it came down to just the general brain usage, it was completely even.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not talking about like Da Vinci kind of era. I mean, I'm talking like way back. I think almost before castles, like biblical.
Proto-humans.
Nah, a little bit after. I think what moved us. I mean, I really do wonder what era used what more. I think obviously the medieval
Think about
area. I think the medieval area probably used the right one way more, because that's where when we think medieval we think of like really old art and creative.
I think of the Renaissance.
The Renaissance, yeah, and how they designed castles. And actually castles are an interesting subject as well, because I mean I think castles were very left-brained design in mind.
They're extremely extravagant, but very practical.
Yes, exactly. But I think they were more practical, and extravagancy was more an accident. Because when you look at them, no part of them is like no single inch is not there without a purpose. So I think it was just more.
It's true.
Yeah, I think it was. Oh gosh.
And you can look at really old architecture as well, not even just castles, but say like old arch bridges.
Yeah.
There's an old arch bridge in, oh gosh, I want to say it's in England. I'm probably wrong. It's somewhere in Europe. And It's one of, if not the oldest arch bridge in the world. And it still stands, just an old stone arch bridge.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful piece of engineering, just gorgeous with its arches and the keystones up at top. But despite how beautiful and arguably artistic it was precision built. Like, this is a marvel of engineering and science.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think that predominantly castles and stuff were more left-brained, but extravagancy was more of an accident because
Oops, we accidentally in art.
we accidentally arted. Because I mean, when you think about it, they weren't. I mean, when we think about it, it's not really too pretty. Castles are just a square with cylinders at the corners, and
How
a big
dare
box.
you get out?
It's like a square with a big box in the center. And no, when you think about castles, people usually think of castles with very spiky tops. Those are actually not real. When you look at castles, they're very, very geometrical in shape. So I don't really think they had a lot of right brain in mind. Though later castles did have kind of like they whitewashed them and they turned the houses in later medieval periods were made out of wood and stone in a way that was more pleasing to those people of that time, and they painted it white and everything, and there was just a lot more right brain detail later on. But when it started, it was very left brain. And also, can we just talk about the helmets of that era?
Sarah.
I'd like to think that they were extremely padded and covered in metal on the left side, and then the right side was just a daisy chain.
Just daisy chain.
Which era of time are we talking about? That is the subject of helmets.
Oh no, there's not really a specific era. I can't remember the era, but I remember during the medieval during the medieval era, there were lots of weird designs from all over the world that were more used to inflict fear in the enemy, and I think that was way more right-brained than anything. Cause yeah, I think you're probably googling, aren't you, Squeakers?
I have so many Google tabs open right now.
he is the researcher of the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so I had to go for a second. If I'm out
That's
of the
fine.
conversation. So I'm lost track of the conversation. Assistance is required, please.
No, we're right now we're talking about is how the right brain versus the left brain was used in different points in history.
See, this is where, though, I think it comes back around to it being more of a choice which side you tend towards, because many modern studies, surveys, scans, even dissections, a few of, have shown that there is no there's no prevalence of one side or the other. Like, you're not born and then later on in life you can cut someone's head open and go, oh, obviously they're a left brain because their right brain looks like a dried little apple core. Both sides have to function equally in order for us to function as humans, to be able to understand nuance, to be able to understand emotion, to be able to understand everything. They have to function equally. Originally, I think it was in the 60s, I want to say, 50s or 60s, there was a guy named Sperry, Roger Sperry, that's it, I got it written down.
Okay.
And he ended up winning a Nobel Prize for his work, but he was a psychobiologist and was the first person to really suss out the idea that the left brain's connected to logic and linear thought, mathematics, facts, things like that. And then the right brain's more for intuition, arts, nonverbal cues, so more subtle hints.
So okay.
But
So the left brain is not like it. How do I say this? Let me just think how to say this.
go on.
So what he says is
Use your,
that
use your left brain.
I need to channel my left brainness. So what he's saying is mostly that the left brain is predominantly, because like what we're talking about here, it makes sense. The left brain kind of puts a base for the right brain to work off of. it really does kind of function that way if you think about it. Because the left
And I
brain,
think that was the point of his research is that the left brain, it does focus more on logic, it does focus more on linear thought and mathematics,
yeah,
but that's not saying that the left brain is the only side of the brain that deals with those things. It's just that that's what the left brain's sensitive to, whereas the right brain's more for imagination, intuition, arts. But
it connects the
if
dots
the
more.
left brain doesn't have the right brain, say the left brain gets something put into it like 2 + 2 = 4, without the right brain there, those are just numbers. They mean nothing. It has to have the right brain working with it. Otherwise, it just sees numbers. It can't put any motion to them.
Oh, oh,
If you see what I
okay.
mean.
Whoa, that's so the right brain does a lot of. So the right brain does more stuff that the left brain people think. I mean, what people associate with the left brain is also kind of mostly in the right brain. Like the left brain has the dots, the right brain just connects them. I guess.
In a way, yeah, and it works both ways. Like the right brain, if it looks at, say, a painting, some art, if you look at a painting, if you only had the right brain going on, it would recognize the colors and the flowing curves and the
Ooh.
central points and the focal points, but it wouldn't be able to. That wouldn't be anything to them. It's just a bunch of colors and points and lines. You
Yeah,
have to have the left brain there
just a
to go,
Picasso
oh, this is
painting.
red and that's blue, these complement.
It's just a Picasso painting.
It's just a Picasso painting. This means nothing to me.
Yeah.
But without the left brain there, the right brain just sees what it sees. The left brain has to say, okay, well, these lines are all leading to a focal point. My eyes need to go there. Oh, there's a nice array of complementary colors around here. There's some reds and some blues.
Oh, wow. So the left brain does more right brain stuff than people think. It's
Yeah, and
interesting.
I think that's the big issue with the left brain right brain theory is that it started with Sperry's research in the 50s or 60s. And he came out with his findings that, left logic, right art. And then people saw that and went, oh, the left is just logic, the right is just art. I'm logical, therefore my left brain is stronger than my right brain. But that's not the case. And that's why I think it's more of a choice, because if logic has always worked out for you better than creativity, then you're more likely to approach things starting with the left brain strengths, because that's what you're familiar with, that's what you know.
Okay. Jeez,
But
that's
you have to have both, otherwise it's all just raw, pointless data.
yeah. It's interesting how interconnected they really are. To be honest with you,
It really is.
this
The
is
brain's an amazing thing.
yeah. The human brain is amazing. I mean, it's so complex.
Except when it's not.
Yeah, when you have a brain fart.
It's amazing, except when it's not.
But there is, I mean, to be fair, there was a study done on the brain, and it took a computer 30 minutes to do something. I forget what it was, but it took the computer 30 minutes, and your brain was able to, a brain is able to do that in a millisecond. That's how behind we are.
Brains are incredibly fast, and that's why I find it astounding that we are not faster than we are.
Really? How's that?
Well, think about it. Our brain is massively powerful. It can do everything in the universe and more. It's the only thing in all of existence that has ever named itself. Think
That is
about
true.
that. And it has all this power, all this massive potential, but then it has to deal with these clunky vocal cords and these slow air-filled gas bag lungs and this big fleshy meaty body.
So
Like
we
they could
were.
be doing so much better if it didn't have to deal with all of this, however many thousands, millions of years of survival instincts and whatever clogging the work cell.
What I think though, uh, I think computers seem faster than us sometimes, but it's because we make them with our shortcomings are absent, and that's why even though a computer is a million times less powerful, an AI can learn something 1,000 times faster than we can. Because if you look at a toddler, even though its brain isn't developed, a toddler takes maybe like a year to start walking, whereas an AI can just start walking in maybe 2 3 hours. I don't know. I don't know anything about AI, so don't quote me on that. But I saw a video of a Google robot that learned to walk and jump and run in maybe like a day or two. So I think
Well, AIs are really clever in a wholly different way.
we make it
Typically,
clever.
the way an AI works, we do make it clever, but it's not really as clever as you might think most of the time. A lot of AIs are just brute force AIs, and what they do is they run scenarios, hundreds, thousands, millions of scenarios of the exact same thing they're trying to figure out, each time with a variable slightly tweaked.
Well,
So
isn't that what we do though?
let's say you've got an AI trying to tell a little box to go in a straight line, and halfway down the line, there's a hole. The first 500,000 million runs, it might just fall into the hole. It'll try different speeds, it'll try stopping and starting. Eventually, it'll realize it has to go over the hole. So, for the next thousands or millions of tries, it'll jump different distances, different speeds. What happens if it jumps backwards? And it'll just keep doing that until it finds the perfect one that can make it every time.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, isn't that what we do most of the time? Just like a way faster. Like, okay, to be fair, aren't oh he left. Are you still here, Don?
I'm still here.
Okay, you okay, Squeeps?
I honestly don't have much to add to these conversations, so I just kind of listen, I guess, for the
No, but
moment.
like you can like join in if you want to. You there, Squeeps?
Don't know what to add is the problem.
Oh well, I mean, your father is a coder, isn't he? Maybe you know something about coding, or have
He
you?
doesn't. He doesn't deal with AI. He's like, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yep. I mean,
Just to give you an idea.
I guess so. What I will say is, though, I do think that, I mean, we kind of think the same way too, if you think about it, because AI is kind of a reflection of how we think. Because when I think of how to solve, at least when I try to think to solve a problem, I think, okay, how do I do it like this, like this, like that, like that, like that. But our brain are so fast, they can just figure that out really quickly. And since we have, sorry. Since we have like past knowledge of what happened, of what something works, we can just kind of unify how everything works, and we can kind of predict how it'll work in this specific situation. But it doesn't always work because, I mean, we do fail. There is such a thing as human error. So, I really don't think that.
Possible. Humans are the ultimate life forms.
Oh gosh. It's...
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, that's. I gotta
I scared Squeebers off.
I think he has a bit of a connection issue. Squeebs, you there? You okay? You doing good, buddy? Nope. I think he's still kind
Or
of.
put the
Feeling
dog
great.
down.
Put the dog. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Dog down.
You there, Squeebs? Squeeby.
I'm just waiting for my terrible connection to sort itself out. Carry on.
No.
Never will. It never does.
No, I was just saying that. Again, I think AI just thinks like we do because of past experiences, we figure stuff out way faster than AI. But we kind of think in the same format as this will not work. Let's try the next formula and the next till we find the one that works. I think
We
it's
do, but I agree with you, but from afar. We do think
I agree with you from afar.
we have from miles away, but we think in problem-solving terms. We'll see a jump ahead of us, and we'll think, I'm here, there's a hole there, I need to go in the straight line, so I'm gonna need a running jump that's a little bit further than my leg span. I can probably make it.
Yeah, but
But
how do
what
we
an
know
AI
that
does
information?
is brute force. It's just that's the way the human brain works. It's the way it problem solves and takes
But
apart the data.
I'm just saying that we know that we have legs because our brain brute forced its way to learning it has legs, and we know it's a hole because we've seen a hole before and we learned, oh, that's a hole and it hurts to go down.
I don't. I see. This is from the afar part. Hold on, let me get afar.
He's actually going far. Oh
If
my god.
the way the brute force attack, the way that the AI would brute force a problem, it's very literal. It creates however many numbers of its scenario as it needs until it finds just the right one, and then that's the one it uses. Whereas the human brain, you're not running at the hole an infinite number of times waiting for the right time, waiting for the one that sticks. You're thinking about it first. You're going, I know I need to run. I might overshoot. I might undershoot, but at least I know if I sprint, I'll probably make it.
Yeah.
Whereas the AI goes, throw it into a pit, throw it into a pit, throw it into a pit. Okay, I'm sick of throwing it into a pit. What else can I try? Throw it into a pit faster. No, that didn't work. Throw it towards the pit and then jump. Okay, that worked. And then it gets it perfect until it's just right. We're going to overshoot. We're going to undershoot. We might slip on a ladybug and fall in the hole anyways.
Ladybug. Jeez, that's a big ladybug then.
And Kasmori is Tortora bug.
What?
Oh yeah, big old ladybug. It's like a bugalo from Futurama.
It's one of
No,
those-
it's like
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's just brains are so complicated. It cannot I think it can't understand itself at a certain point. Cause like,
I think though,
I just think that brains. Is it possible for a supercomputer to understand exactly how it works? Cause like, I mean, probably.
well, I think that is a good, potentially good representation of what entirely left brain thought process brain human would be like. An AI just throwing scenarios at a problem until it brute forces its way through. That's left brain. It's not technically learning. It's not absorbing the situation and thinking.
Yeah.
It's going, go, 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 go. And eventually one makes it and it goes, that's the one. Now, how do we make that better?
Okay.
Whereas a human, they start more right brain when coming up to problems. They look
Oh.
at it, they think about it, they examine everything from subtle cues like temperature and if there's dew on the grass or if they did workouts yesterday, if their legs are still sore. Computer doesn't. AI will just keep throwing scenarios at the problem until it gets one.
Yeah, it keeps erroring till it can't error anymore.
So I think what a human does is a very good example of the combination right-left brain that humans have. And then I think what an AI does is a very good example of what just a left brain would do.
I mean, I guess. So,
Logically,
know
you
what
would have
just a right
seen a
brain-
hole before.
So, do you think
If it was just the left brain,
So, do you guys
if
think
it was
that
just the left
this is-
brain, there would be logic that still applies.
I guess.
Logically, I've seen a hole before, so logically, a similar, if not the same solution should get me over the hole,
That's what
if
I'm
not
saying.
past it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said before.
Let him.
No, yeah, but that's what I was saying. That's why I think that like we kind of do think like AI in a bit.
It's a necessary combination of both sides.
Yeah.
If you were just doing the whole problem logically, just left brain, you'd do like the AI and just charge into it an infinite number of times. But you use more spatial awareness and picking up on subtler cues to figure out exactly the right angle of attack before you just go charging in there.
Yeah. So, do you guys think you guys are affected in any way negatively or positively by being the way you are?
Cut out a bit. You need to repeat the question for me.
It's
No,
hard
no.
to say.
I'm just saying. Do you guys
I
think
didn't hear some of it.
do you guys think it affects you negatively to be left-brained?
Very.
How so?
Have a
I guess it
tendency.
depends on what your ambition would be. Being quote unquote more left brained, that is, being more comfortable with the left side of thought, so that's where I tend to go. I don't really endeavor to do things that are more creative, more right brainy. So I don't really have deficits necessarily because of being more left brain. Like I've never found myself attempting to recreate a Picasso painting and going, damn it, if only I was more right brain. I don't bother attempting to recreate Picasso paintings. The things I do, take apart a Xbox controller or work on my truck's engine or whatever. They're more mechanical, more logical. They're things I'm more comfortable with. So
Yeah.
I don't really find that I sit there thinking, boy, I wish I'd painted this engine block a different color. This gray is really clashing.
Yeah, no, I think the same way because usually when I do, one of my worst classes was math, and I just cannot stand math. No kind of math. Like obviously I can do like 2 + 2 = 4, but I'm just doing whatever I need to do. I don't think, oh boy, this is how this works. So interesting. So many numbers. Blah 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 blah. Like I don't know. I'm not a mathematician in any sense of the word.
To be fair, I hated math too. I never understood it. I figured the only reason you would ever need to remember the crap you were taught in math class was if you were going to become a math teacher.
I mean, yeah, but it is used in a lot of stuff nowadays. I do understand that it's
It
used.
is, but you remember the old argument of why can't I use the calculator? And they'd always say, oh no, you have to work it out and show your work because you're not always going to have a calculator.
Then iPhone
No?
came out.
There's never going to be a time when there isn't some sort of calculation device nearby. I swear, if it ever comes to the point where I have to do like long algebra
In the
and
wood.
I don't have a
In the woods.
phone or a computer or a calculator or anything nearby,
Yeah,
something is fundamentally wrong.
something is
You're screwed.
something either fundamentally wrong or you're just not in the right place for that.
Yeah, there's no reason for me to be in the middle of the woods and trying to find X. I guarantee you he's not hiding out there.
He's worse than Wells Waldo.
Yeah. Where is this little bastard? They said that find X. I didn't know it would be like this. I feel like I'm on National Treasure.
When you actually find the X, you just get awarded $1 million, but it's actually just A's. Like, this is worthless. Wait, no, I need that for college.
Anyways, like I was gonna say that I don't like being primarily left brain because
Yeah.
like my brain likes to go to the highest extreme. I'm pretty sure I said this the other day or something. So it's like when I get the feeling something bad's about to happen,
Yeah.
I run through logical yet extreme situations. So let's say I'm standing behind a lady in a line
simulate,
at
basically.
McDonald's.
You simulate.
Basically, but it's like it's not accurate because like let's say I'm sitting behind a lady at McDonald's
Okay.
and they're thinking, okay, what can go wrong in this scenario?
What can go wrong in this scenario?
Well, one thing I can think of right on top of my head is that she turns around and slaps me, saying I was staring at her butt, calling me a pervert.
Why are you staring at her butt then? I'm just kidding.
Thing though,
Based on
I wouldn't be
personal
staring at her butt. She just assumed. That's the thing. See, it's the worst possible situation that comes out first, and then that's why I stay at home all the time.
Well, the worst.
I like that. Hold on, let's think about this for a second.
Okay.
His worst possible situation going to McDonald's is being caught staring
I
at
was-
her butt.
No.
I was using
think
that as an
the worst-
example.
I think the worst possible situation to McDonald's is you're there when the whole thing explodes because a gas leak got cut off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the worst possible scenario would
you
be
gave me
like
a new nightmare.
a nuclear bomb full of HIV dropped on you or something. I mean, I can think of way worse than staring at a woman's butt.
at least after you get slapped, you can still walk out alive. I just got dark.
Welcome to the
And
Squeebers
does she
Politicast.
slap me so hard she snaps my neck?
That's what kind of woman was this?
That's some Final Destination stuff going on right there.
That's either the luckiest or the unluckiest slap in the world. Plus,
I'm picturing like a psychotic Rube Goldberg machine where he's walking down the street, he trips on one of them giant ladybugs, his
Oh my
foot
God.
goes onto a skateboard, he skateboards into the McDonald's, slips forward, sees a scorpion crawling up the lady's dress, and then she turns around just at that moment.
Oh my god, jeez, that would be that would be.
Wow.
What would you put on
To
the
be honest,
tombstone?
I don't go that extreme.
You said you go to the extremes. That's the extreme.
I go to the at least the realistic extreme.
Okay, that's fair.
Extreme, even though everything in my head is still exaggerated. Like everything's a cartoon for some reason.
Oh god.
Everyone's
I feel like
arms
the
are
realistic
squashing
extreme-
and stretching.
Everyone's Elmer
Yeah.
Fudd.
I feel like the realistic extreme would be like reaching into the bag to grab a handful of delicious French fries and throwing them into your mouth just to find that they're deep-fried scorpion tails and centipedes.
Oh god. Talk about centipedes. I still have the marks. I was looking at my hand and I still have the marks of the centipede that bit me like 3 years ago. God, that was
You
painful.
got bit by a centipede.
Yeah, in Puerto Rico. I was in.
What
I was.
kind of?
I was in there. I was on this. I was in the. Is it Puerto Rico? How do you say it? Puerto Rico? Yeah.
You lived there. I don't know.
Squeebs.
You're the one who lives there.
Squeebs. I was censoring it.
Censoring Puerto Rico.
Jeez, you guys really don't get this, do you?
I really
Oh,
don't.
I don't.
Anyway, I'll just see if I can cut this part out.
What? Puerto Rico?
Yes.
You think someone's gonna go down there and find you?
Well, I'm not there anymore, so who cares?
Exactly.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what people will think about if they know I'm from Puerto Rico. There are stereotypes here about them. I don't want to be.
I live in Mississippi. Come and get me, world.
Okay, fair enough. I shouldn't be afraid of my nationality, but I shouldn't wear it on me all the time either.
Mississippi, France.
Alright.
That's where you got to go to find me.
Oh God, that's your life. So, do you think it affects you positively that you're left-brained?
Again, I think in the same
Kinda, sorta.
situations, I don't do things that are typically right brain leaning. So
Yeah.
everything I do end up deciding to do is something that my left brain is comfortable with and can cope with.
Okay. What about you, Bama?
Kinda, sorta. I really don't know.
All right. What do you think it would be like if
I'm
you were...
cynical. I don't look at the positives that much.
Oh God. What do you think it would be like if you were like the opposite way? Like if you were both like right-brained? What do you think your life would be like?
Absolutely
right brain.
terrifying. I would rule the world.
If I was right brain, you would have to probably restrain me.
Wow. Why do you
Now
both...
ideas.
I like how...
I'd be spouting out. I'd be going into creation overload. Like I would
I like how both of
make
you
things.
immediately...
So if I'm extremely creative, if I'm becoming extremely creative, you're gonna have to lock me down and sedate me because I would be just coming up with who knows what.
I like how both of you... I immediately say, so what if you're right-brained? And both of you go, destroy the world.
I don't think I'd destroy the
Let's
world.
be honest here. I see creativity as a superpower because I do not possess it and it's beyond my range of possibilities. And anytime I'm offered a superpower, I instantly choose the role of supervillain.
Okay, then.
So I would find a way.
You would find a way.
You know, I guess what superpower I want, I just say I want shapeshifting, and I don't really care about which side I'm on. I just probably be an anti-hero.
You... Anti-hero. Okay,
For
come on.
obligations.
Okay, Deadpool. I'm so sorry. Anyway, guys...
Good idea. I could turn into Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
I
Anyway,
could star in the next Deadpool movie.
yes. Anyway, I do think that I'm gonna be ending it because I really don't feel all that well. But I'm super excited to have you guys on the first Kat Cafe on the Cat Box. And to all of you who are watching on YouTube, I'll leave the link to Discord in the description so you can join it, and possibly on the next episode of Kat Cafe. I want to thank
Cat
Squeebers.
box.
What? Sorry.
I just said cat box.
I want to thank Squeebers and Bama Bearer for being here on this episode, and thanks to everyone who watched. Thank you to everyone on Twitch, and thank you to everyone on YouTube. If you have any suggestions for next week's topic, you can leave it in the comments or in the Twitch chat. And hopefully you had a good day and have a good night.
Lying, he won't read them.
I will read them. I shall. Oh yeah, if we do use it, we will credit you. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, hopefully you all have a good night. Bye everyone.
Goodbye.